The small transport ship Lucky Star moved through space like a metal dot against the endless black. Inside, Kang Minho sat in the pilot's seat, checking his instruments for the third time in 10 minutes. The cargo hold behind him was full of mining equipment heading back to the Kepler 440b station. It was a normal supply run, the kind he had done hundreds of times before. Minho was tired. He had been working the Outer Rim mining stations for 5 years now. The pay was good, but the work was hard and lonely. Most humans stayed closer to Earth, in the safe systems with green planets and blue skies. But Minho liked the quiet out. Here, no crowds, no noise, just him and the stars. The warning light on his control panel started blinking red. What now? Minho said to himself. He pressed the button to check the engine status. The numbers on his screen made his heart skip. The fusion reactor was overheating. Fast. He tried the cooling system. Nothing happened. He tried the backup cooling system. Still nothing. The temperature kept rising. In 20 minutes, maybe less, the reactor would explode. The blast would turn his ship into dust. Minho's hands moved quickly over the controls. He sent out a distress signal on all channels. This is transport ship Lucky Star. Engine failure. Need immediate help. My position is... He read off the numbers from his navigation system. The reactor temperature hit the red zone. Minho had maybe 10 minutes left. He grabbed his emergency kit and ran to the escape pod. It was small, barely big enough for one person. He threw himself inside and hit the launch button. The pod shot away from the Lucky Star just as the ship exploded behind him. The blast lit up space like a small sun for a few seconds. Then everything went dark again. Minho floated in his tiny pod, alone in the vast emptiness of space. The pod had basic life support for maybe 2 days. After that, he would run out of air. His distress signal was still broadcasting, but this part of space was almost empty. The nearest human station was weeks away. He tried not to think about dying alone in the dark. Hours passed. Minho checked his air supply. Still 18 hours left. He had sent his message to his sister Ji-won back on Mars. She was an officer in the colonial fleet. If anyone could organize a rescue, it was her. But even she could not make ships fly faster than physics allowed. The pod's computer made a soft beep. Something was coming toward him. Minho looked at the screen and saw a ship approaching. It was big, much bigger than any human transport. The design was strange, all smooth curves instead of the sharp angles humans used, and it was moving fast. Unknown ship. This is human transport pod emergency beacon, 77 Alpha, Minho said into his radio. I am in need of immediate assistance. A voice came back through the radio. It was musical, almost like singing. Human vessel. This is Valkyrie rescue ship, Gentle Current. We have received your distress call. Are you injured? Valkyrie. Minho had heard of them. They were one of the peaceful species, the ones who never fought wars. Most humans had never seen one in person. They stayed in their own space, healing people and growing things. I am hurt, Minho said. My ship exploded. I think I have broken ribs, and I'm bleeding inside. We are coming to help you, the musical voice said. Do not worry, human, you will be safe. The Valkyrie ship was beautiful, up close. It looked more like a giant flower than a machine. Gentle lights ran along its surface in patterns that reminded Minho of ocean waves. A bay opened in its side, and mechanical arms reached out to pull his pod inside. When the bay closed, Minho heard air rushing in. The bay filled with breathable atmosphere. Then the pod door opened, and he saw his first Valkyrie. She was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of pearl. Her eyes were large and completely black. She had no hair, but her head was covered in small scales that changed color as she moved. She wore a flowing robe that seemed to move by itself. I am Verthas, she said. Her voice was like wind chimes. I am a healer. You are badly hurt. Minho tried to stand up, but fell down instead. Pain shot through his chest. Yea, I noticed. 2 more Valkyrie came into the bay. One of them, wearing a different colored robe, spoke quickly to Verthas. Their own language, it sounded like birds singing. Verthas' scales changed to a darker color. There is a problem, she said to Minho. Our captain says we should not interfere with humans. Your species is ... difficult. You fight wars, you are violent. Our law says we should leave you here, but you won't, right? Minho asked. Blood was running from his mouth now. I mean, you already picked me up. Verthas looked at the other Valkyrie. They spoke in their singing language again. Their scales kept changing colors. Minho guessed it meant they were upset or worried. I will help. You, Verthas said finally, but it may cause trouble for my people. Humans and Valkyrie do not usually help each other. Why not? Minho asked. He was getting dizzy from the blood loss. Because your people make war. Our people make peace. We do not understand each other. Verthas put her hands on Minho's chest. Her touch was warm, and he felt a strange tingling sensation. The pain started to fade. But, she said, life is precious. All life. Even the life of a human who might someday make war. The healing process took 3 days. Minho spent most of that time sleeping in the Valkyrie medical bay. When he woke up, he felt better than he had in years. The broken ribs were healed. The internal bleeding had stopped. Even old scars from mining accidents had disappeared. Verthas came to check on him every few hours. She brought him food that tasted like flowers and sunlight. She also brought him books about Velthari culture, translated into human language. Your people are amazing, Minho told her. You could heal any disease, fix any injury. You could help so many humans, and your people could protect so many worlds from those who would harm them, Verthas replied. But you choose to fight each other instead. Not all of us, Minho said. Some of us just want to help. On the third day the ship's captain came. To see him, Captain Thalandra was older than Verthas, and her scales were silver instead of pearl. You are healed, she said. We will take you to the nearest human station. Thank you, Minho said. I know you took a risk helping me. I won't forget that. See that you don't, Captain Thalandra said. And remember, not all aliens are your enemies. Some of us just want to live in peace. As the Velthari ship approached the human mining station, Minho recorded a message on his personal device. He looked tired but grateful. My name is Kong Minho, he said to the camera. 3 days ago, I almost died in space. A Velthari ship saved my life. They didn't have to. Their own laws told them not to. But they did it anyway, because they believe life is precious. He paused, thinking about his time on the gentle current. I want everyone to know what they did. For me, these people, these Velthari, they're good. They're healers, they're peaceful. And when I needed help, when I was dying alone in the dark, they came for me. Minho looked directly into the camera. Humanity remembers its friends, always. The message would soon travel across human space, and in a few months, it would change everything. 6 months after his rescue, Kong Minho stood on the observation deck of Mars Station 7. He was watching ships come and go in the busy spaceport. His sister Juan would arrive soon on her military transport. She was now Admiral Park Ju, one of the youngest fleet commanders in human history. Minho had sent his message about the Velthari rescue to news networks across human space. Some people thought it was a nice story. Others did not care about aliens at all. But the message had reached the right people in the colonial fleet. Minho Giwan called out as she walked into the observation lounge. She was still in her blue fleet uniform, with the gold stars of an admiral on her shoulders. You look good, much better than the last time I saw you. The Velthari are amazing healers, Minho said, hugging his sister. They saved my life, Juwan. They didn't have to, but they did. Juwan's face became serious. That's why I'm here. We need to talk, privately. They went to a secure conference room in the military section of the station. Lee Dong-yoon was waiting. For them, he was a thin man with tired eyes who worked in fleet intelligence. Kim Nari, a communications officer, sat at a computer terminal. Show him the reports, Giwan said to Lee Dong-yoon. Lee Dong-yoon put a data pad on the table. 3 weeks ago, we started getting strange signals from Velthari space. Distress calls. Ships asking for help. Then the signals stopped. What kind of signals, Minho asked. The kind you send when someone is attacking you, Kim Nari said from her computer. We've been monitoring alien communications for years. These were definitely calls for help. Lee Dong-yoon brought up a star map on the wall screen. Red dots marked several systems in Velthari space. These colonies have gone silent. All of them in the last month. Maybe they're communication systems. Broke, Minho said, but he did not sound convinced. Or maybe someone broke them. Jiwon said, tell him about the Korthok. Lee Dong-yoon touched the screen, and new information appeared. Pictures showed large insect-like creatures with hard shells and multiple arms. They had small, cruel eyes and sharp teeth. The Korthok Dominion, Lee Dong-yoon explained. They're a military empire. They take over other worlds and make the people into slaves. For the last 50 years, they've been expanding toward this part of the galaxy, and now they've reached Velthari space, Kim Nari added. The Velthari have no military. They're peaceful. They can't fight back. Minho felt sick. The people who saved me are being attacked. It gets worse, Jiwon said. Show him the intercepted message. Kim Nari typed on her computer. A scratchy audio recording played. It was Captain Thalandra's voice, but she sounded scared and tired. This is Captain Thalandra of the Velthari colony ship Gentle Current. The Korthok have taken our medical stations. They are using our people for experiments. They want to steal our healing technology. There was a pause. Then, we do not know how to fight. We have never learned war. If anyone receives this message, please remember us kindly. The room was quiet for a long moment. Minho's hands were shaking. When was this recorded? He asked. 5 days ago, Kim Nari said softly. It's the last message we received from any Velthari ship. Minho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved through space, going about their normal business. None of them knew that the gentle people who had saved him were dying. What can we do? Minho asked. Officially? Nothing, Lee Dong-yoon said. The Velthari are not part of any human alliance. We have no treaty with them. The government won't send the fleet to help aliens who aren't our allies. But unofficially, Jawan asked. Lee Dong-yoon smiled for the first time. Unofficially, Admiral Park, you have a lot of friends in the fleet, and your brother's story has been spreading. A lot of people remember what the Velthari did for him. Kim Nari turned her computer screen toward them. It showed message boards and news sites across human space. Thousands of people were talking about Minho's rescue. Many were asking why humanity was not helping the Velthari. The story is everywhere, Kim Nari said. People are angry. They want to know why we're letting the bugheads hurt the people who saved a human life. Bugheads, Minho asked. What the Marines call the Korthak, Jiwan explained. It's not polite, but it fits. Jiwan sat down at the table and looked at the star map. How long would it take to get a fleet to Velthari space? With the new jump drives, maybe 3 weeks, Lee Dong-yoon said. But we'd need a lot of ships. The Korthak have a big fleet. Then we better start making calls, Jiwan said. Kim, I want you to send a message to every fleet commander in human space. Tell them what's happening. Tell them about the Velthari who saved my brother. What should I say? Kim Nari asked. Ji-won thought for a moment. Tell them that humanity takes care of its friends, and ask them if they want to be part of the biggest rescue mission in galactic history. Over the next week, messages flew between human worlds. Fleet commanders talked to each other in secret. Marine generals made quiet phone calls. Even the corporate bosses who owned private military ships started paying attention. The story was simple. Peaceful aliens had saved a human life, risking their own safety to do it. Now those same aliens were being attacked by monsters who wanted to steal their healing technology and use them as test subjects. Humanity began to react. Admiral Choi Suk-men, the overall commander of the colonial fleet, called an emergency meeting. For the first time in 30 years, representatives from all human military groups came together. The colonial fleet, the corporate security forces, the Independent Systems Defense League, even the Outer Rim pirates sent someone. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Choi said to the assembled commanders, we have a situation. A peaceful species that helped one of our people is being wiped out by the Korthak. The question is, what are we going to do about it? General Yun Tai-hing, commander of the Marine Corps, stood up. He was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. The way I see it, Admiral, those bugheads just made this personal. They're hurting people who showed mercy to a human. That's not acceptable. The corporations agree, said Director Han Sora from the Tactical Operations Division. Our people are already volunteering to join any rescue mission. We can provide ships and supplies. Even Captain Bae Hunwoo, representing the Outer Rim pirates, nodded. My people don't usually work with the military, but this is different. Those aliens saved one of ours. Now it's our turn. Admiral Choi looked around the room. Every face showed the same expression, determination. Then it's decided, he said. We're going to war. Within days, the largest human fleet in history began gathering at the Proxima Centauri staging area. Every type of ship humanity had ever built was there. Massive dreadnoughts with enough firepower to destroy planets. Fast attack cruisers, carrier, ships full of fighters, support vessels carrying food, fuel, and medical supplies. Minho stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, watching more ships arrive every hour. Admiral Juan had given him an honorary rank and made him the official liaison with the Velthari, if they found any alive. How many ships now? Minho asked Kim Nari, who was still handling communications. 2,000 and counting, she replied, and more coming every day. I've never seen anything like it. Neither had anyone else. The fleet was so big that it had to spread across 3 star systems to avoid collisions. Every human faction had put aside their differences to join the rescue mission. The Korthak won't know what hit them, said Commander Song Minji from the engineering corps. She was in charge of the technical support ships. We're bringing enough firepower to take on half the galaxy. Dr. Lim Jaewon, head of the medical division, was preparing his hospital ships, and enough medical supplies to heal an entire species, he added. If there are any Velthari left to save. Minho looked out at the growing fleet and thought about Captain Thalandra and Verthus. Were they still alive? Were they suffering in Korthak prison camps? Or were they already dead? We're coming, he whispered to the stars. Hold on, we're coming. The greatest rescue mission in human history was about to begin. The war room aboard the flagship Indomitable was packed with officers from every human military force. Maps of Velthari space covered the walls, showing Korthak positions in red and remaining Velthari colonies in blue. There were far more red dots than blue. Admiral Choi Sung-min stood at the center of the room, his weathered face grim. Around him sat the commanders who would lead the largest military operation in human history. Admiral Park Jawan represented the colonial fleet. Yoon Tae-jin commanded the marine forces. Director Han Sora controlled tactical operations. The situation is bad, Admiral Choi began. Intelligence reports show the Korthak have taken 12 Velthari worlds in the last month. They're not just conquering them, they're strip-mining the planets and taking the people. Lee Dong-yoon, the intelligence officer, stepped forward. Our scouts report that the Korthak are building prison camps on every world they capture. They're forcing the Velthari to work in medical labs, trying to steal their healing technology. How many Velthari are left? Asked General Yoon. We estimate about 2 million, scattered across 6 remaining colonies. Lee Dong-yoon replied. The Korthak fleet is moving toward the largest one, Velthari Prime. That's where most of the survivors are hiding. Minho, sitting at the edge of the room in his honorary uniform, spoke up. How long do they have? Maybe 2 weeks, Director Han Sora answered. After that, the Korthok will control all of Velthari's space. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The gentle people who had saved Minho's life would be extinct. Admiral Choi activated the holographic display in the center of the room. It showed the full tactical situation. This is Operation Thunderstrike. Our goal is simple: destroy the Korthok fleet and liberate every Velthari world. The plan was massive. The human fleet would split into 3 groups. The first group, led by Admiral Giwan, would attack the main Korthok fleet near Velthari Prime. The second group, under General Yoon, would hit the prison camps and free the captured Vel. The third group would secure supply lines and set up medical stations. What about their defenses? Asked Captain Bae Hoonwoo, the former pirate who now commanded a squadron of fast attack ships. The Korthok have about 800 ships, Director Han Sora explained. They're tough, but they're not expecting us. They think humans don't care about aliens. They're about to learn how wrong they are, General Yoon said grimly. Commander Song Ming-hee, the chief engineer, brought up technical data. Our ships are faster, and our weapons are more advanced. But the Korthok are experienced fighters. They've conquered dozens of worlds. So have we, Admiral Choi replied. The difference is, we're fighting for something they can't understand. What's that? Asked Dr. Lim Juan, the medical officer. Minho stood up. Honor. They're fighting for conquest. We're fighting for people who showed us kindness. The room erupted in nods and murmurs of agreement. Every person there had heard Minho's story. They knew what the Velthari had done for him. Over the next week, the final ships arrived at the staging area. The corporate security forces brought their newest battleships. The independent systems sent their best fighters. Even some alien species that were friends with humans offered to help. The Centauri Republic is sending medical ships, Kim Nari reported. They say they want to help heal the Velthari. What about the Altarians? Admiral Juan asked. They're sending food and supplies, Kim Nari replied. They said, any species that helps humans is a friend of ours. The fleet was now over 2,000 ships strong. It was the largest military force humans had ever assembled, but more importantly, it represented something new. All of humanity working together for a common cause. Squadron leader, Bae Heinwoo, was checking his fighters when Minho found him in the hangar bay. The former pirate was now in charge of 300 of the fastest ships in the fleet. Nervous? Minho asked. Bae Heinwoo laughed. I've been in a lot of fights, but never one this big. And never one where I was fighting for the good guys. You think we're the good guys? Kid, I spent 10 years stealing from cargo ships. I know what bad guys look like. Bae Hoonwoo pointed toward the star charts on the wall. Those Korthok things. They're bad guys. They hurt people who can't fight back. We're going to stop them. In the medical bay, Dr. Lim Juan was preparing for the worst. His ships carried enough supplies to treat thousands of wounded, but he also carried something else. Samples of Velthari healing technology that Minho had been given during his recovery. Can you use their medical data? Minho asked. Some of it, Dr. Lim replied. Their healing methods are amazing. If we can save their people, maybe they can teach us how to use this technology properly. And if we can't save them, Dr. Lim's face became sad. Then we'll make sure their knowledge doesn't die with them. The final briefing took place in the main auditorium of the Indomitable. Over 1,000 officers packed the room, representing every ship in the fleet. Admiral Choi took the stage. In 6 hours, we jumped to Velthari space. He announced, this is not a normal military operation. We're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for people who showed mercy to one of our own. The room was completely silent. The Korthok think they understand humans. They think we only care about ourselves. They think we won't risk our lives for aliens. Admiral Choi's voice grew stronger. Today, we proved them wrong. He activated the main display, showing pictures of Velthari that had been taken from intercepted communications. The images showed the gentle, pearl-skinned people working in their medical facilities, helping injured beings from many different species. These people are healers, Admiral Choi continued. They've never hurt anyone. They've never conquered anyone. They save lives. And when one of our people was dying in space, they risked their own safety to help him. The Admiral looked directly at Minho Kang. Minho, would you like to say something? Minho walked to the stage. He was not a military officer or a politician. He was just a mining engineer who had been saved by aliens. But when he spoke, everyone listened. 6 months ago I was dying alone in space, Minho said. My ship was destroyed. My air was running out. I thought I would die out there in the dark. He paused, remembering that terrible day. Then the Velthari found me. They could have left me to die. Their own laws told them to leave me alone, but they didn't. They saved my life because they believe that every life matters. Minho's voice grew stronger. Now those same people are being hurt by monsters who want to steal their kindness and use it for evil. The Korthok think they can destroy the Velthari because they're peaceful. They think no one will stop them. He looked out at the sea of faces in the auditorium. They're wrong. We're going to stop them. We're going to save every Velthari we can find. And we're going to show the galaxy that humanity protects its friends. The room exploded in cheers and applause. Officers from different fleets, who had been enemies just weeks before, stood together and cheered for the mission. As the crowd settled down, Admiral Choi returned to the stage. All ships, prepare for jump. Target, Valkyrie Prime System. Time. To departure, 6 hours. He looked out at his officers one last time. Remember, we're not just fighting for the Valkyrie, we're fighting for the idea that kindness should be rewarded, not punished. We're fighting for the belief that good people deserve protection. The Admiral's voice carried across the fleet communications. This is Admiral Choi to all ships. In 6 hours, we jump to glory. Humanity is coming to the rescue. Across the massive fleet, ships powered up their engines and weapons. Marines checked their equipment. Pilots ran final tests on their fighters. Medical teams prepared their emergency supplies. The largest rescue mission in galactic history was about to begin. In his small cabin, Minho recorded another message. This one was for Captain Thalandra and Verthus. If they were still alive? This is Kong Minho, he said to the camera. You saved my life when you didn't have to. You showed me that there are good people in the galaxy, people worth fighting for. Now it's my turn to help you. He looked out his window at the enormous fleet surrounding his ship. We're coming. 2,000 ships, and the entire might of humanity. Hold on just a little longer. Your friends are coming to bring you home. The jump to Valkyrie space was like stepping into hell. When the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Valkyrie Prime system, they found a scene of destruction. Broken ships drifted in space. Pieces of destroyed space stations floated like metal snow. And in the center of it all, the massive Korthok war fleet surrounded the last free Valkyrie world. Dear God, whispered Admiral Park Ji-won from the bridge of her flagship. What have they done? The tactical display showed. The full horror, Valkyrie Prime, once a beautiful blue-green world, was covered in smoke and fire. The Korthok had been bombing it for days. Around the planet, 800 enemy ships formed a blockade, trapping the last 2 million Valkyrie on the surface. Sir, called out Kim Nari from the communications station, I'm picking up a signal from the planet. It's weak, but it's there. Put it through, Admiral Juan ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was tired and scared, but still musical. It was Captain Thalandra. This is the last free Valkyrie colony. Our shields are failing, our people are dying. If anyone can hear this, please, remember that we tried to do good in the galaxy. Minho, standing on the bridge in his honorary uniform, felt tears in his eyes. She's still alive, he whispered. Not for long, said Lee Dong-yoon, studying the tactical data. The Korthok are preparing for a final assault. They'll attack the planet in hours. Admiral Guan activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Park. You can see what we're facing. The enemy outnumbers us almost 4 to 1. Their ships are strong, and they're experienced fighters. She paused, looking out at the enemy fleet that had tortured the gentle Valkyrie for months. But they made one mistake. They hurt our friends. And now they're going to learn what happens when you make humanity angry. The human fleet spread out into attack formation. Admiral Giwon's dreadnoughts took the center. Their massive guns aimed at the largest Korthok ships. Squadron leader Bae Hyenwa's fighters moved to the flanks, ready to strike fast and hard. General Yoon Taijun's assault transports prepared to break through to the planet. The Korthok had noticed them now. Their fleet was turning to face the humans, but they were moving slowly. They had not expected anyone to challenge them. Sir, reported Commander Song Minji from the engineering station. The enemy is hailing us. Let's hear what they have to say, Admiral Giwon said. The voice that came through the speakers was harsh and grinding, like metal scraping against stone. Human ships, you are in Korthok territory. Leave now or be destroyed. Admiral Juwon smiled. Coldly, this is Admiral Park Ji-won of the human colonial fleet. You are in violation of galactic law. You have attacked a peaceful species and committed acts of genocide. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the rules of war. The Korthok voice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Foolish humans, you are outnumbered. We have conquered 100 worlds. What can you do against the might of the Korthok? Dominion, we can show you what happens when you mess with our friends. Admiral Giwon replied. All ships, attack. The battle began with a thunderclap that shook space itself. The human dreadnoughts opened fire first. Their plasma cannons sent streams of pure energy across the void, striking the largest Korthok ships. The enemy vessels were tough, but they had never faced weapons like these. Ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Squadron leader Bae Hun-woo led his fighters in a sweeping attack on the Korthok left flank. The small, fast ships dodged between the enemy vessels like angry wasps, their missiles finding weak spots in the alien armor. This is Dragon Squadron. Bae Hun called over the radio. We're punching holes in their formation. Send in the Marines. General Yoon Taijun's assault ships charged through the gaps, heading for the planet. The Korthok tried to stop them, but the human ships were too fast and too determined. Marines, prepare for combat landing. General Yoon ordered. We're going. In hot, the first wave of human soldiers hit the planet's surface. Just as the Korthok ground forces were preparing their final attack on the Valkyrie cities, the Marines came down like hammers from heaven, their drop pods crashing into enemy positions. This is General Yoon to all units. Find the Valkyrie, get them to safety. And if you see any bugheads, shoot them. In space, the battle was turning. into a slaughter. The Korthok had expected to fight the peaceful Velthari, not the full might of an angry human fleet. Their ships were dying by the dozens. Commander Song Mingji was coordinating the technical side of the battle from her engineering ship. All units, the enemy command ship is in Sector 7. If we can take it out, their whole fleet will fall apart. I see it, Admiral Giwan said, studying the tactical display. It's that big ugly thing in the center. All heavy ships, target the command vessel. Let's end this. The human dreadnoughts concentrated their fire on the massive Korthok command ship. It was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons and armor. But even it could not stand against the combined firepower of humanity's finest warships. The command ship exploded like a dying star, taking half the Korthok fleet with it. The remaining enemy ships began to retreat, but the humans were not done with them yet. All ships, pursue, Admiral Juan ordered. Don't let any of them escape. I want every Korthok ship destroyed or captured. Squadron leader Bei Haiyan-Wu's fighters chased the fleeing enemy across the system. This is for the Velthari, he shouted as his missiles found their targets. On the planet's surface, the battle was almost over. The Korthok ground forces had collapsed when their command ship was destroyed. Human marines were moving through the ruins of Velthari cities, looking for survivors. I found them, called out Sergeant Kim Tai-ho over the radio. There's a whole group of Velthari hiding in an underground shelter. General Yoon ran to the location. In a deep bunker beneath the city, he found 200 Velthari huddled together in fear. Many were injured. All were terrified. It's okay, General Yoon said gently, taking off his helmet so they could see his human face. We're friends of Kang Min-ho. We're here to help you. An old Velthari with silver scales stepped forward. It was Captain Thalandra, the one who had saved Minho's life. She looked tired and hurt, but her eyes were still kind. Minho? She asked. The human we saved. He sent you. He sent all of us. General Yoon replied. The entire human fleet. We came to rescue you. Captain Thalandra's scales changed color, shimmering with hope. But why? We are not your people. We are not part of your empire. No, General Yoon said, helping her to her feet. You're something better. You're our friends. Dr. Lim Juan's medical teams were already setting up emergency hospitals on the planet's surface. The human doctors worked alongside the few remaining Velthari healers, combining their knowledge to save as many lives as possible. The Velthari medical technology is incredible, Dr. Lim reported to Admiral Gi. With their help, we can heal injuries that would normally be fatal. In space, the last of the Korthok ships were being destroyed or captured. The battle that everyone had expected to be long and bloody was over in just 6 hours. The human fleet had crushed the enemy completely. All ships, cease fire. Admiral Jiwan ordered, begin rescue operations. I want every Velthari found and brought to safety. As the smoke cleared, the true scale of the victory became clear. The entire Korthok fleet had been destroyed. Their ground forces were wiped out. The surviving soldiers were being taken prisoner. But the cost had been terrible for the Velthari. Of the 12 million who had lived in their space just months before, only about 1 million were still alive. The rest had been killed by the Korthok or had died in the prison camps. Minho was among the first humans to land on Velthari Prime. He walked through the ruins of the beautiful cities, looking for the people who had saved his life. He found them in a medical shelter, helping to treat the wounded Verthes. He called out when he saw the pearl-skinned healer. She turned and saw him. Her scales shimmered with joy. Minho, you came back. I brought some friends, Minho said, gesturing to the thousands of human soldiers and medics working to help the Velthari survivors. Verthes looked around at the massive rescue operation. Human doctors worked alongside Velthari healers. Human engineers were already starting to rebuild the destroyed cities. Human soldiers were bringing in supplies and food. Your people did this for us, she asked in wonder. You saved one human, Minho replied. Humanity has come to save all of you. As the rescue operation continued, word of the battle spread across the galaxy. The largest fleet in human history had destroyed the Korthok Dominion in a single day. The gentle Velthari had been saved from extinction. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned something new about humans. They were not just warriors or conquerors. They were a people who remembered kindness and repaid it with loyalty. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human friendship had begun. 3 months after the battle, Velthari Prime looked like a different world. Where once there had been smoking ruins, new cities were rising from the ground. Human construction ships worked alongside Velthari bioengineers, creating buildings that combined the best of both technologies. Minho stood on the observation deck of the new orbital station, watching the rebuilding effort below. The station was a joint project, human defensive technology protecting Velthari medical facilities. It was a symbol of what the two species could accomplish together. It's beautiful, said Captain Thalandra, joining him at the window. Her scales had returned to their healthy silver color, and she looked much better than she had during the rescue. It's a start, Minho replied. Your people lost so much. I'm not sure we can ever make up for that. You saved us from extinction, Thalandra said. That is more than making up for it. That is giving us a future. Below them, the planet bustled with activity. Human medical teams were learning Velthari healing techniques, while Velthari doctors studied human surgical methods. The combination was producing medical breakthroughs that neither species could have achieved alone. Admiral Park Ji-won approached them, carrying a data pad. "The final casualty reports," she said grimly. "We lost 12 ships and about 300 people in the battle. The Velthari lost 11 million people," Thalandra finished quietly. "More than half our species, but not all." Gi-won said firmly. 1 million survived. That's 1 million who can rebuild, who can have children, who can carry on your culture. They were interrupted by the arrival of On Sunwoo, the human diplomatic representative. He was a small, quiet man who had been working for months to establish formal relations between humans and Velthari. "The Galactic Council has made their decision," On Sunwoo announced. "They're recognizing the Velthari Protection Compact as a legitimate treaty. The Velthari are now officially under human protection." This was huge news. The Galactic Council was made up of the 12 most powerful species in the galaxy. For them to recognize the treaty meant that attacking the Velthari would be the same as attacking humans. "What does this mean for us?" Thalandra asked. "It means you're safe," Ji-won explained. "Any species that threatens the Velthari will have to deal with the human fleet. And after what we did to the Korthok, I don't think anyone wants to test us." Kong-hoon, the cultural exchange officer, joined the group. She was a cheerful woman who had been organizing programs to help the two species understand each other better. "The first class of human students just graduated from the Velthari Medical Academy," she reported. "And the first group of Velthari engineers finished their training on human defensive systems." "How are they adapting?" Minho asked. "Better than we hoped," Kong-hoon replied. "The Velthari are natural healers, but they're learning that sometimes you have to fight to protect what you love. And the humans are learning that there are better ways to solve problems than just shooting them." A chime sounded through the station. "Attention all personnel," came the announcement. "The ceremony will begin in 30 minutes. All participants, please report to the main auditorium." Today was special. It was the formal signing of the Velthari Protection Compact, the treaty that would make the alliance between humans and Velthari permanent. Representatives from across human space had come to witness it. The main auditorium of the station was packed. Admiral Choi Sung-min was there, representing the colonial fleet. General Yoon Tae-jin stood for the Marines. Even former pirate captain Bae Han-woo was present, now wearing the uniform of the new Combined Defense Force. At the center of the room, a simple table held 2 documents. One was written in human languages, the other in the flowing script of the Velthari diplomat. On Sunwoo stepped forward to begin the ceremony. "We gather today to make official what our hearts already know. The Velthari and humans are no longer separate peoples. We are allies, partners, and friends." Captain Thalandra, now elected as the speaker for all surviving Velthari, approached the table. Her scales shimmered with emotion as she spoke. "6 months ago, we saved 1 human life," she said, her musical voice carrying across the auditorium. "We did it because we believe all life is precious. We never expected anything in return." She paused, looking out at the crowd of humans who had come to witness this moment. "But humanity surprised us. You came not with 1 ship, but with 2. Thou Sun, you came not as conquerors, but as rescuers. You risked your lives to save people you had never met, simply because we had shown kindness to one of your own." Admiral Gigwon stepped forward to represent humanity. "The Velthari taught us something important," she said. "They showed us that mercy is not weakness, kindness is not foolishness, and when good people are threatened, it is our duty to stand up and protect them." Both leaders picked up their pens and signed the treaty. The moment the documents were complete, the auditorium erupted in cheers. Humans and Velthari applauded together, celebrating the birth of an alliance that would change the galaxy. After the ceremony, there was a reception in the station's main hall. Humans and Velthari mingled freely, sharing food and stories. Many of the humans were meeting Velthari for the first time, and they were amazed by the gentle alien's wisdom and kindness. Dr. Lim Jawan was discussing medical techniques with Verthas, the healer who had saved Minho's life. "Your biotechnology is incredible," he said. "Combined with our surgical methods, we could eliminate most diseases in the galaxy." "That is our dream," Vertes replied, "to heal not just our own people, but all people. With your protection, we can share our knowledge safely." Commander Song Minji was showing a group of young Velthari the plans for the new defense stations that would protect their worlds. "These platforms will have the most advanced weapons in human space," she explained. "But they'll also have medical facilities and research labs, defense and healing, working together." In a quiet corner of the hall, Minho sat with Captain Thalandra, looking out at the celebration around them. "Do you think this will work?" Minho asked. "Humans and Velthari working together." "I think it already is working," Thalandra replied. "Look around you. Your people and mine are talking, learning, becoming friends. 6 months ago, most humans had never heard of the Velthari. Now you're willing to die for us. Because you were willing to save me when you didn't have to," Minho said. "That means something. That means everything." General Yoon Tae-jin approached their table, carrying a glass of the sweet Velthari drink that had become popular with the human crews. "The first joint training exercise starts next week," he announced. "Human Marines working with Velthari medics. We're calling it Guardian Angel Operations, soldiers who can fight and heal." Your people learn quickly, the Landra observed. Many of our young ones are asking to join your military academies, and many of our young ones want to study at your medical schools. General Yun replied, in a generation, we'll have humans, who think like Velthari and Velthari, who understand human tactics. As the evening continued, word of the alliance spread across the galaxy. The news networks of dozens of species reported on the unprecedented treaty. For the first time in galactic history, a major military power had committed to protecting a weaker species with no expectation of reward. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. The Andromedan Trade Federation, a group of merchant species, sent a message offering to establish trade relations with both humans and Velthari. The peaceful crystalline entities, who had been hiding from aggressive species for centuries, emerged from their asteroid homes to ask for human protection. Even some of the galaxy's more warlike species began to reconsider their policies. The Rakari Empire, known for their brutal conquest of weaker worlds, quietly withdrew from two systems they had been planning to invade. In the weeks that followed, dozens of species sent ambassadors to the new joint human-Velthari station. They all wanted to understand this new alliance, and many wanted to be part of it. Diplomat on Sunwoo found himself busier than he had ever been. We're getting requests for protection treaties from 17 different species, he reported to Admiral Giwan, and offers of alliance from 30 more. What are they offering in return? Jiwan asked. Everything. On Sunwoo replied. Technology, resources, knowledge, military support. They all want to be friends with the people who saved the Velthari. Cultural Exchange Officer Kang Haun was organizing the first Galactic Friendship Festival, where species from across the galaxy would come together to celebrate peace and cooperation. The response has been incredible, she told Minho. We have over 50 species confirmed to attend. They're calling it the most important diplomatic event in galactic history. But perhaps the most significant change was happening among humanity itself. The rescue of the Velthari had united all human factions for the first time in centuries. The corporate fleets, the colonial military, the independent systems, and even the former pirates were all working together. We've created something new, Admiral Choi observed during a staff meeting. Not just an alliance with the Velthari, but a united humanity. We're stronger together than we ever were apart. Squadron leader Bae Hyunwoo, who had gone from pirate, captain to respected military officer, nodded in agreement. My old crew wouldn't recognize me now.